Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Super Lunch Post Podcast, episode number 78. I am Brendan. All right, today we're going to talk about UFC Fight Night, Santos versus Walker. Probably touch on a little bit of Bellator stuff with MVP versus Diego Lima. Douglas Lima, sorry. That's probably pretty much it. We might preview. Yeah, we'll probably go over next week's fight night, Dern versus Rodriguez, and maybe we'll talk about. No, I'll do that in a separate video. Anyway, all right. Before I get started with all those things, please like and subscribe. If you like what I'm doing, please tell somebody else about it. I would really appreciate that. You know, the more people listening, the more people I get involved, the more people asking me questions, the more stuff I have to talk about. It's a vicious cycle of really cool things that happen. So appreciate all that stuff. And without further ado, let's get started. So the main event this weekend was Thiago Santos versus Johnny Walker. So both these guys coming off of like up and downs in their recent career. So like Thiago Santos obviously fighting for the title and losing by split decision. Okay, to John Jones. A lot of people thought he won that. I was one of them. I thought he won that fight. So you know the light heavyweight division could be in a different place right now if John Jones doesn't get another one of those BS decisions, but we are where we are. So he loses 3 in a row, and then he gets this decision win over Johnny Walker, who himself was, he lost to Corey Anderson, Nikita Krylov. He just beat Ryan Spann, like got a win back in the win column, and then he loses this decision to Thiago Santos. So the takeaways. Santos still has all the problems that he always had, where he's more tentative, and when he doesn't land big and the fight is slow, he tends to not have enough output to win decisions. On the flip side, Walker wasn't aggressive enough and didn't outpoint him. So generally, each round by round, like the striking was relatively close. I had the first round for Walker, second and third for Santos, fourth for Walker, and then fifth for Santos. So the rounds that were close in striking total, Santos had the bigger, more impactful strikes, and then the other 2 rounds, Walker just outpointed him, did enough, right, and he didn't get caught in those rounds. Not a whole lot of big action going on. Both these guys known for their knockouts, but they're not exactly counter strikers because they can both be aggressive. It was weird to watch just because there was nothing going on for a very long period of time. Walker looked tentative to move in, and when he did move in and got caught, he would, be really gun shy and didn't want to do it. I mean, he took a few big shots and didn't go down, didn't wobble or anything like that. People are kind of crapping on SBG, Ireland, for, because, Walker's training up there now. That's, Conor McGregor's gym. And he's training up there, and they're talking about John Kavanaugh and, like, how he's ruined a bunch of fighters' careers and blah, 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 blah. I don't know if any of that's true. I don't know if there's anything you can take away. From what I saw, Walker looked more reserved and calculated in this fight, and against a lot of other top-tier opponents, adding in a little bit of wrinkles, I see him being able to win a lot more consistently in the light heavyweight division. So I'm not ready to just throw out any improvement he made or anything that he's doing here. I think he looks pretty good. I thought he looked good, right? The power doesn't go away. The craziness can always come back if he needs it. But if you learn to really use your tools, his height, his length, his reach, his speed, power, all those things, if you use to learn those tools in a more controlled manner, you're going to win more consistently over a long period of time. And that's what I was seeing is Walker is making changes for the better. You can only win so many of those 50-50 firefights. Yeah, sure. You can get a few you can call them lucky or you can call them whatever you want. You can get a few flashy knockouts where you're throwing caution to the wind. You jump into a brawl face first and you come out on top. Sometimes you don't, sometimes you do, and then you make a name for yourself and whatever. And then eventually that doesn't work for you anymore and you start getting caught. Well, or someone doesn't want to play that game with you and they outpoint you. So if you can learn to do that and then also still have all those original abilities that you had, the speed, the power, the precision, all that stuff. From what I saw, what I'd like to see from Walker is to shore up his fundamental striking, right? So throwing his jab out there, being a little bit more consistent, using his reach advantage. They both threw a lot of kicks in this because they were at kicking distance, not punching distance most of the time. And he was using a lot of teep and oblique kicks. He did throw some round kicks, obviously, leg kicks. And actually, they both threw a ton of leg kicks. It's just he didn't put it all together. And it was a close fight, right? This is against Thiago Santos, who's what was he ranked before this? 6? 5? 5. So before this fight, he was ranked number 5. I don't see him going up any higher. He'll probably stay the same. And Walker was 10. And I don't think he loses a ton because, Ryan Span's 11 below him. He's not dropping below Ryan Span. Paul Craig isn't going to jump him because he hasn't fought. It's like, and, Misha Serkinov is still in the light heavyweight rankings, even though he fought at middleweight. So, I don't know if he moves at light heavyweight. He might. Anyway, I liked what I saw from Walker. These people, like some people want to just crap on him and say like, oh, well, he didn't get the win and he's not explosive anymore and this and that. Like, I think he's advancing as a fighter. He's becoming more mature. And if he can put things together like this, he's going to win more often than he doesn't, especially against the lower tier opponents in the light heavyweight division. But I think even against some of the upper tier guys, he can probably put it together enough to put some wins together and get a title shot. As far as Santos goes, coming off of 3 losses, one of them being the controversial split decision, obviously, against John Jones, and then losing to Glover, who is currently getting the next title, lined up to fight Blachowicz for the next title shot, and losing to Alexander Rakic in a really boring fight, which DC was talking about. It's kind of funny. Rakic was tweeting back at him, and DC was saying like how it was like, I don't think anybody should have won that fight because it was so boring. Just shitting on both of them. That's fine. It is what it is. Rakic is currently ranked number 3. So, Santos isn't losing to 10 and below. He's not losing to guys who aren't challenging for a title or in a title, like the title picture, right? So with this win, I think given the right circumstances, he could be given a title shot. I think it would be interesting to see him fight Jan again because he does have a win over Jan, an impressive one, knockout in the 3rd round. So I think it would be fun, but honestly, he's probably going to have to fight. Like, this is the problem, is he already fought Anthony Smith, who's ranked above him, ranked number 4, and he beat him. I think that might have been when they were both at middleweight, though. It might not. I don't remember. He has a loss to Rakic, who's above him. He has not fought Jiri Prochazka, so that could be fun. I don't know how that works out for him. I think Prochazka is kind of a nasty matchup for him, and he has a loss to Glover and a win over Jan. So he's fought all but one of the top 5, right? And he has wins over 2 of them. Yeah, he's 2-2. The 4 top guys, 5 top guys, right? So Jan including in there, right? So he's 2-2, and then he hasn't fought one of them. Which it just shows that he is always not always. He's, as far as like getting a title goes, he's right there. As far as winning the title, he's right there. It's not that people aren't blowing his doors off, and it's not looking like he's going anywhere anytime soon. He looks like he still has it. He can at least make one more run at this, given the current landscape, and I think he could do it. Like, that's the thing, is like Johnny Walker's younger, so I think he might eventually work his way into the title picture again. Whereas Santos, like, this might be his last one because he, like I said, he has fought all these guys, and it's hard to start running these fights back without like motivation from the UFC to do so. And not a lot of these guys are marketable. There's not like, these matchups aren't super interesting for most people. It's just like this division is kind of dead. now that John Jones is in here. And I mean, it's unfortunate because I think it's competitive and fun. It's also like there's a real drop off after 6. Right after Dominic Reyes, you got Magomed Ankalaev, Volkan Ozdemir, Nikita Krylov, Johnny Walker, Ryan Spann, Paul Craig, Misha Serkinov, Jimmy Crute, and Jamal Hill. A lot of those guys are nowhere near getting a title shot, which is it's completely fine. But like also if you look at how they fight, like you're like, I don't think they have what it takes to win in the title fight. So it's hard to see what's going to happen at light heavyweight because someone like Jiri moved in there like in the last couple of years and blown the doors off of everybody, and now he's like in title contention. And that's what I was talking about. I've been talking about that for 3 or 4 years now, even when John Jones was the champ, that it's all it takes is a couple good wins and you're in the title picture at light heavyweight because of how thin it is. It's a lot like heavyweight. Heavyweight's a little different because a lot of those guys have fought it. Well, a little, but not too much different than light heavyweight. These guys have all fought each other. Anyway, I thought the fight was okay. It wasn't super interesting. If you did miss this weekend, I don't think that's like a need to see, especially watching it for 25 minutes. If you're not a diehard, you could probably skip that one. All right, the home main event. Kevin Holland, one of my favorite fighters. I love the dude, versus Kyle Daukaus. Daukaus was winning. He was doing pretty good. Like he was going for takedowns. He didn't take Holland down. Holland had better takedown defense than before. He looked more competent on his feet. He made the joke training at Hendrikistan, training with Johnny Hendricks. Anyway, they were coming together at one point, and Daukaus dipped down and then moved in for wasn't a shot. I think he was throwing a punch, and then Holland slipped by him, and there was a clash of heads. Daukaus's the top of his head clashed with Holland's chin. Holland was basically knocked out. Not basically, he was knocked out. He went face first into the canvas, woke back up when he was hit the canvas, and then flipped over and then continued to fight. And then Daukaus ends up getting a rear naked choke. So it was called off, and there was a finish. But then afterwards, it was decided that that whole sequence only occurred because Daukaus, or because they had a clash of heads, incidental clash of heads, and so it was ruled a no contest. I don't know how I feel about this because if you're Daukaus, and Daukaus didn't do anything wrong, by the way, going for the finish afterwards, you fight until you're told to stop fighting. I mean, we say that all the time when accidents happen or incidents happen, in between rounds or not in between rounds. So like at the bell or, when you think there's a foul that occurred or a mouthpiece falls out, like you're told to protect yourself at all times, and then you continue fighting at all times, like that kind of thing. So Daukaus didn't do anything wrong. In fact, he did what he's supposed to do. He was going for the finish. And then Holland didn't do anything wrong by continuing to fight because, like, how are you supposed to know? Like, in that moment, if you thought you got hit by an illegal shot and then you just pass out, right, and, like, you just give up, that could work in your favor because then this could happen, right? You could have a no contest. Or it was an illegal shot that hit you to knock you out, even though you might have thought it was, and now you lose the fight. So Holland did what he was supposed to do. Getting up, fighting back, and doing it. It just, because the fight went on afterwards, it's really hard to say that it should have been a no contest. Although it does feel like the right thing because now they can just, if they want to, they can just run it back. That's what it is for me. It's just there's nothing. Daukaus looked really good. I felt like he was winning the fight, and I felt like if the fight went on and it's the iteration that the way it was going, I feel like Daukaus was probably going to get the W anyway. But if they want to run it back in a couple months, that's fine. I would be a little wary of that because Holland did take a big shot to the jaw from his head, so I would probably pump the brakes a little bit, maybe take a couple months off. All right. Welterweight, we had Alex Oliveira versus Nico Price. Love Nico Price. Love Alex Oliveira. Cowboy Oliveira. Price getting the decision in the end. I felt like he did win 2 of the rounds. Like, that makes sense. He won the first round and the third. Oliveira clearly won the second. So, Oliveira, I remember when he came to the UFC and he fought Gilbert Burns. I don't remember if it was on short notice, but this is when everybody was pumping up Gilbert Burns to be the next big thing. Like, he was part of Vitor Belfort's camp, and he was coming out, and he was going to be the champ at lightweight, right? And this is, like, it was a big deal from that camp, and this guy was just going to be the best. And then Cowboy goes in there and cracks him and almost finishes him in the first round. And then he was smoking Burns bad, and then Burns ended up getting the armbar in the third. But, like, I remember when Cowboy Oliveira came to the UFC, and he just, like, from then, like, that was in 2015, and he's been a staple since then, right? Like, mostly winning in the UFC, right? And he's got a few losses and a couple no contests thrown in there, but he's currently on a 3-fight losing streak to including Shavkat Rakhmonov, who is, freaking crazy, Randy Brown, and then now Nico Price. Nico Price being probably the least skilled of all those fighters, even though he does have a win over Randy Brown. So, I feel like he's at where he's always been at, which is a fun, dangerous fighter who can always fight pretty much anybody at any time at 170 and show, like, have a good showing. He's slick on the ground. He hits hard. He has fun in there. He's fun to watch. He has okay cardio. He does tend to get tired. But I think, I don't see him going anywhere. He's 33 years old. He's not, like, super old. He's getting a little up there. But, I mean, it's just, it's so crazy because I like when they talk about these fighters like being a staple of the UFC. Like, I remember when he came in, and then obviously for Nico Price, getting a win again, finally getting back in the win column after his last couple. With the no contest and Donald Cerrone, the loss to Michel Pereira and Vicente Luque. He's had a lot of tough fights. He takes a lot of damage. It's just I feel like he's a 5-round fighter. And I don't know if he's ever going to, like, given his win-loss kind of way that he's been going, I don't know if he's ever going to get an opportunity to fight for 5 rounds. Because he's really durable. He doesn't quit. And I feel like he's going to break a lot of guys over 25 minutes. And he's like, he doesn't have insane cardio or anything. He's awkward. He's gritty. And he just doesn't quit. So that's really like a 5-round fight mentality, and he can beat a lot of people over 5 rounds. I just don't know if he's ever going to get that opportunity. I mean, good win for him though. I thought he looked decent against Oliveira. Another fight at middleweight: Misha Serkinov versus Krzysztof Jotko. Misha dropping down from light heavyweight to get a size advantage over these guys at middleweight. I don't understand why people do that. Because there's such a big gap. It's a 20-pound difference from 205 to 185. Obviously, there's a big difference. So if, like, you're a big light heavyweight and you're barely making weight, you're obviously not going to make 185. And then if you're, like, a smaller light heavyweight who still has to cut to 205, that means you're cutting weight. You're going to have to cut the additional 20 pounds to make it down to middleweight. He looked drained. Looked really thin, didn't look as fluid as he normally does. He didn't get tired, but he just didn't look good. Jotko got the decision win, rightfully so. Jotko looked pretty good, and that's the thing is, like, they're talking about, like, Serkinov cutting down, and Jotko's not even a big middleweight, but Jotko didn't look smaller than Serkinov, not much smaller. So this move doesn't make sense to me. I don't think he has an advantage over anybody at middleweight. I think, light heavyweight might not have been kind to him, but I think it might have made more sense. Yeah, I would go back up for him. Let's see. Lightweight, Alexander Hernandez versus beating Mike Breeden, knocking him out in the first round. He was supposed to win this fight. I thought he looked amazing. Looking smooth, aggressive. He's still getting caught. That's his problem. Is if he stays in firefights, he tends to get caught. But he was supposed to win this fight. He was a big favorite, and he did. Breeden stepped up on short notice and still caught Hernandez a couple times. So unless Breeden's some like crazy guy that I've never heard of, like this fight didn't show me anything. Okay, to the prelims. Joe Solecki losing a decision to Jared Gordon. Solecki had Gordon on his back the entire first round. Absolute domination from him, and then he just couldn't impose his will anymore, and Gordon just chipped away, doing just enough to get the win in each area, win the last two rounds. Kind of a boring fight, and I don't know. I got not much to say about that. Antonina Shevchenko losing to Casey O'Neill via TKO in the second round with 13 seconds left in the second round. It was a weird stoppage. I feel like Shevchenko she kept moving, right? She like say, you got to show me something, you got to do something, and then she would throw her legs up, and then she did it again, and then they stopped it this time. O'Neill looks decent. I don't see her challenging any. This is flyweight, right? So I don't know if the Shevchenko sisters have this planned out where Antonina fights somebody to kind of like feel him out, and then Valentina goes in and like destroys him. I don't know if that's how this works. I don't know why Antonina is not as good. Like, obviously she's not as strong. She doesn't look as fast. So, she's not a bad fighter by any means. It's just she's so far removed from Valentina. It's crazy, right? You have the Diaz brothers, or you have, oh my goodness, Lozon brothers. There's a lot of brothers and sisters who, well, I don't know about sisters, but there's lots of brothers who have fought in the UFC. And, usually there is one who's far superior to the other. So that kind of like fits with that trend. It's just weird, like how good Valentina is versus Antonina. Like I said, she's not a bad fighter. It's just she looks like all the other flyweights. And Casey O'Neill is like decent striking, but it's pretty rudimentary, right? Like it's less sloppy than a lot of the other flyweights, so that's not bad. Good for Casey O'Neill. She's 8-0. That's the problem is once you start putting the win streak together at flyweight, well, she's probably gonna jump into the. I mean, she might make it into the rankings, but I don't think so. No, because Macy Barber, Miranda Maverick, Montana De La Rosa. Nope. Oh, yeah, and we could talk about this, too, real quick. Like, Aspen Ladd missing weight by 2.5 pounds or 3 pounds. And then making the same excuse she made before, saying, like, oh, it was her time of the month. Like, her period started 3 days before, and it was hard for her to drop weight, and blah, 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 blah. Listen, if this was a common occurrence in all female fighters, like, maybe we could have this discussion. But it's obviously not. Right? So you understand your body. You need to lose weight if you're going to keep fighting at this weight class. You want to fight at bantamweight, you're going to have to, like, if you're not able to cut that additional 2 pounds, then you need to start 2 pounds lighter, 3 pounds lighter, 5 pounds lighter. Like, and I know what Aspen Ladd looks like. She's not a hard body who's like has no ounce of fat on her. She has fat on her. A lot of fighters do, right? Like, you don't have to be absolutely jacked and shredded to fight in every division. But when I see shit like this, right, or like there's a couple times when I see it when someone is losing out on strength and size in a division, and they clearly are holding a little pudge, right? Like, you can cut weight. Like Casey O'Neill, like, she can cut probably, like, I don't know if she can make straw weight, but based off what you see on her, like, she has some extra body weight on her. She could probably drop to get down to straw weight and be healthy, right? Now, we're not talking about cutting additional 10 pounds here. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not encouraging weight cutting. What I'm saying is, if she managed her diet and her body composition better and throughout the whole year, she could lose that weight and effectively keep her training schedule and all that other stuff. So nothing else would change other than she would start at a lower weight and end up dropping cutting that final whatever amount to get to straw weight. And then the other one that gets me is when there's people who are missing weight and clearly have fat on their body. Right? If you're if you're jacked and shredded and you're just peeled to the bone, right? Like, Kevin Lee is a pretty good example because he's a muscular guy who has a rough time making it that cut to 155. So, like, someone like him, he might have not an excuse, right? But he has, like, and again, your body composition is your responsibility. So if you're carrying around extra weight, whether that's muscle or fat, you're carrying it around and you're choosing to do so. So if it's muscle, maybe you want to go up a weight class. But if it's fat and it's not helping you fight, it's not helping you recover, it's not helping you have cardio, like, there's no reason to carry that extra weight around and lug it around. Lose it. Aspen Ladd has body fat, right? Enough body fat that she could lose and comfortably make bantamweight. But she's missed weight twice. It's same here, like, I'm not just shitting on Aspen Ladd here. Look at Kelvin Gastelum. He's a little pudgier. And he was cutting down to 170, constantly missing weight. And then he just went up to 185. Like, if he got a proper dietitian, he can make it down to 185. Look at Daniel Cormier. At light heavyweight, he was gaunt and, like, drained because, he has, like, eating issues. He eats too much food and not great food. And Patty the Batty recently did an interview. Patty Pimblett did an interview, and he's gotten, like, they call him Patty the Fatty now because he's so chunky. And he's just like I fucking hate those guys who are in shape all year round. It's like, live your life, man. You're fucking miserable. And, like, I get his point of view, and he has control over his body and enough self-control to get down and get shredded to be the weight class that he needs to be, right? Whether that be 155 or 145. So he has control over his physiology enough that he can do that. Well, if you don't have that, like, and you're like Daniel Cormier, like, standing on the scales and almost passing out to make weight at 205, like, I don't feel bad for you, right? I think if you sign on the dotted line, you should be able to make the weight. Otherwise, you're lying and you're cheating. So that's, like, the bare minimum. But on top of that, not the bare minimum, that's, like, my first thought on the thing. But the second part is, if you really want to do something like that, like cut more weight, change the division, all those things, be a certain division, be a champion, whatever, you need to control yourself. And this is the problem, is you got people like Patty who can eat whatever he wants and then cut the weight down and make weight and be fine. And then you have some people who eat whatever they want, but they can't make the weight as easy, whether it because of work or physiology or whatever. Their body doesn't want to lose the weight. Guess what? Life's harder for you. Suck it up. That sucks. I'm sorry. Like, life isn't fair. You don't get to do what everybody else is doing just because they're doing it. You have to live your life different and accordingly. You want to make bantamweight? Fucking make bantamweight. If you don't, then don't. And you're saying, like, oh, well, that's easy for you to say, sitting behind a computer. Like, I know what it's like to cut weight. I've done it. I don't do that anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. Right? If I want to change my body composition and get in better shape, I can do that if I want to. I've done it a bunch of times. And I'm not saying I'm as good as a professional fighter. I'm not saying I'm doing this for a living, but that's even more, I would say, imperative for them. This is their livelihood. This is their living. They have chosen to make money doing this. They've made this their career, regardless of what Dana White says as far as your employment status. What I'm saying is you actively chosen to do this. So take it seriously. Do what you need to do. And at the end of it, I understand that she was very apologetic and stuff, but she was also throwing in like the excuses. You know, she's saying, I don't have excuses, just apologies. Bullshit. You gave your excuses. Just because you're on your period doesn't mean you can't make weight or you shouldn't be fighting. You know when it's going to be. If it happens near the end of the month for you, maybe you don't schedule fights in the last week of the month. Like, that's a consideration you have to make. Dagestani fighters, like, and other Muslim fighters, they don't take a lot of fights during Ramadan. Why? Because they know they're going to be drained. They can't take water in during the day, right? They have to wait till after nightfall. So they try not to. It's also harder to maintain the same training frequency and intensity while you're fasting. And that's an entire month that they're doing that. Not 1 week out of the month. Like, that's an entire month for a year, out of the year they're doing it. So I don't feel bad for her. I don't want to hear the excuses. I appreciate the apology, that was given to the UFC and to the fans and all that stuff. I appreciate that. That makes sense. Like, this has happened at least twice now with this exact same excuse. This shouldn't happen again. It can be excused one time, maybe two, right? Because if you use something as an excuse, saying, oh, it was hard for me to make weight because of X, you now know that X exists. So you have to take that into account when you're cutting weight, when you're taking a fight, when you're going through your training schedule. You can't use it as an excuse anymore because you just have to take into account. Life's not fair. It sucks for you. I'm sorry. Lose the weight or don't fight in that division anymore. This is the number 3 ranked bantamweight in the women's bantamweight division. Can't make weight. Unreal. The same shit with, like, again, I don't want to bring him up all the time, but like Yoel Romero missing weight all those times. When do you say that enough is enough? Like, I understand like 2 or 3 times for Aspen Ladd, maybe not enough or whatever, but whatever. Speaking of bantamweights, we did have a bantamweight fight. Betch Correia in her final fight, taking on Carol Hossa. Hosa's another one of those bodies. She could probably drop down to flyweight. I don't think bantamweight's the best division for her. I think I don't know. Maybe it is because bantamweight's pretty thin. I mean, I think flyweight's pretty thin, but flyweight's probably a little more competitive near the top. I think your fastest path to a title shot might be at bantamweight, because all you need is like 3 big wins, and she's currently ranked. So you need 3 big wins, and you can make it an argument for that title shot. Great. I had the speaker set up so. Betch Correia ending her career this weekend. What to make of her? I think she was never a highly skilled fighter. What's a fire? She's a highly skilled fighter. I never thought she was a highly skilled fighter. She came into the UFC beating Julie Kedzie via split decision, then Jessamine Duke, and then Shayna Baszler, and Ronda Rousey's like the 4 horsewomen thing. Oh my God. That felt so forced and gross. I hated that time in the UFC anyway. It felt like They're like, who can we pump up so Ronda can smoke? And then she went and fought Ronda and got knocked out. And it's like, this is how bad it was. During the promotion of Bethe Correia versus Ronda Rousey, they were outright lying in the promotional videos, saying, "Oh, I think it might have been, Mr. like All America. Oh, dang it, Captain America. What was his name? Brian Stan. Might have been Brian Stan saying it because I do remember his voice saying it. That this woman possesses one punch knockout power. Does she though? I don't want to just shit on her because she did retire and she wasn't a terrible fighter. So I don't want to just shit on her, but I do want to talk about how bad like this time in the UFC was, like how bad the bantamweight division has always been. All right, so we're gonna go her entire career because it's important to take this into context before she fought Ronda Rousey is what I'm saying, right? So let's look at her record, shall we? These are her first 9 fights. 9. Remember, they said in the promotional video she contains one punch knockout power. One punch knockout power this woman contains. Decision, TKO. Decision, split decision, decision again, TKO. I don't think there's no knockouts in there. So this whole notion that she had one punch knockout power, she never knocked anyone out. She didn't fight the top of the division. She wasn't like fighting like number 1 and number 2. She didn't fight Miesha Tate. She didn't fight Holly Holm beforehand. She didn't fight like any of these guys, these women ranked in the top 10, top 5. Then she loses to gets knocked out by Ronda Rousey. Loses a split decision to Raquel Pennington. Okay. Wins a split decision versus Jessica Ai. Gets a draw against Marion Reneau. Gets knocked out spectacularly by Holly Holm. Gets submitted by Irina Aldana, which was weird. Beats Sajaro Eubanks via decision. Loses a decision to Pani Kianzad and then loses again this weekend to Carol Hossa. So, for having one punch knockout power, she never had a KO her entire career. All of her wins, except 2, were via decision. Every win in the UFC, except for Shayna Baszler, who should not have been in the UFC, was by a decision. Her career is one of opportunity, publicity, and weak division, like weak matchmaking. Because clearly anytime she fought anybody who we would consider like a good fighter, right? You know, Raquel Pennington's good. Ronda Rousey was good. You know, Jessica Ai's okay. So she did win against Jessica Ai. A split decision, though. Marion Reneau's okay. She's pretty good. Loses to Holly Holm's good. Irina Aldana's good. Sajara Eubanks, not great. Pani Kianzad's good. And Carolyn Hossa, she's new, but she looks good. Okay, so anytime she fought anybody... Oh, and Correia missed weight for this. I forgot to emphasize that. Yeah, she missed weight for this fight. Her final fight in the UFC. Final fight ever. What to make of her career? I don't know what to make of it because in the UFC, she was 2-6-1. 2-6-1. Oh no, she wasn't. Sorry, 5-6-1. Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5-6-1. 5-6-1. Not exactly the most stellar UFC career. Not exactly the most stellar career in general. I never was a fan of hers. Didn't think she was a great fighter. I think she was just I don't know what she was, to be honest. I think if she didn't announce her retirement beforehand, no one would ever know that she retired. Congratulations on your career, though. I mean, she was in the UFC. She did win against people in the UFC, and I'm sure she made a decent amount of money. So that's good for her. All right, lightweight. Devonta Smith fighting Jamie Malarkey. Devonta cracked him pretty good in the first round. He was landing these like 5-piece combos against Malarkey. Malarkey would kind of get caught, and then because he moves a lot, he's got a lot of head movement, he moves a lot on his feet, good like decent footwork, and he's moving a ton. But once he would get cracked inside range, Smith would be able to take like 3, 4, 5, 6-piece combos and land all of them on him. He landed a lot of good shots in that first round, and then in the second round, Malarkey caught Smith with a great leg kick. Kind of stumbled Smith a little bit, made him more tender on that front leg. Couldn't really push off of it and land those big power shots. Caught him with a left hook, and then got him against the fence and just went to town and got the finish via, I would say, KO, because he did put him down. Oh, no, it was TKO. They had to stop him. Malarkey getting the TKO finish. Dude, Smith looked good too, by the way. Malarkey looks like, I think he looks pretty damn good. I mean, I guess I could be missing something. But from what I see from him, I think because he knocked out Kama Worthy in his last fight, then he gets a TK over Smith here. What's holding him back? Oh, his loss to Faraziam and Brad Riddell. I mean, he lost a decision to Brad Riddell in his UFC debut. Dude, this guy's... I'd watch out for him. This guy looks like he's got a good chin. He doesn't look like he's going to go away. He hits hard, and he's like got this break you kind of pressure. I'd watch for him in the future, making a run into that top 10. Douglas Silva Deandrage versus Gaetano Perillo. Silva getting the knockout. It was actually pretty cool. Gaetano throws a leg kick, throws a kick. I think it was a body kick, maybe it was a head kick. And Douglas throws God dang it. I'm pretty sure he threw a right hand over the top and just took him off his feet, and he literally fell backwards, and his feet came up out of there. It looked like a movie knockout. It was pretty cool, and Gaetano was just out 2 minutes into the first round. Stephanie Egger looked really good this fight against Shayna Young. This was a very weird call. So, one more fight. So Alejandro Perez getting the submission win over Johnny Eduardo. Johnny Eduardo has been fighting the UFC forever. Perez was able to kind of weather the storm in the first round. There wasn't too much of a storm. He was getting out fought, right? And he was getting out veteraned, I guess you call it, out skilled, out pointed in the first round, and then he kind of turned up the pressure, and in the second round got in an advantageous position and ended up putting him in a weird armbar, straight armbar type situation where he was on top and he put his arm through his legs and then applied pressure to the shoulder by getting underneath it. So it was an interesting submission. And Eduardo's a black belt, an actual black belt too. Anyway, so this bantamweight fight, this female bantamweight fight, Stephanie Egger versus Shayna Young. So Egger looked better pretty much all around than Young. More comfortable on her feet, decent grappling, which is what her bread and butter was. It's still rudimentary, and this is at women's bantamweight, so there's tons of room to move around. It was weird because she landed a few ground strikes. Young threw her feet up, and then she lands this big elbow. Young throws her feet back up, and then she lands a couple more strikes. Doesn't even land a couple more strikes, throws a couple more strikes, and then Mark Smith just steps in and stops the fight. Dude, for all the crap that Herb Dean gets, which I think he still does a good job. I really don't think he does. Dude, Mark Smith is a shit referee. He really is. Like, he does a bad job. You know, he's one of the guys who verbalizes, like, hey, watch your fingers, watch your fingers, watch your fingers, which I appreciate, you know. But then again, like, he's very, I don't even know how to describe it. Maybe I'll take more notes when I watch him ref. But he's bad. And this is a bad stoppage. Not that Edgar wasn't winning or couldn't have gotten a win in that position. It's that the time that he decided to step in for the stoppage was horrible. There was no indication that Young was out. There was no indication that Young wasn't fighting back or defending herself. Edgar didn't even land a punch. It seemed like a lot of people were saying, like, oh, Smith is just bored with this fight, so he's going to call the end of it. It was very stupid, right? And no one's ever going to talk about this because it was on the undercard, right? This is the second fight of the night. Edgar and Young aren't highly touted prospects or popular people on Twitter. These guys, they're not stars. It's never going to be talked about ever again, right, past this weekend. That's all we're going to know is that Edgar got the TKO victory in round 2. That's all we're ever going to see. So I'm just putting it out there now. It was a bad stoppage. Mark Smith has kind of gotten on my nerves a few times. I wish I could think of another situation, but I do know that he has gotten on my nerves with the way he refs quite a few times, and this was another one of those moments where I think he screwed up royally. Just a bad stoppage. Like, you can't, regardless of whether or not someone's winning a fight or what position they're in, like, you can't just arbitrarily stop it. Like, you have to be paying attention, and he fucking wasn't. Ugh. Anyway, all right, so that's it for that card. Next weekend, we got Mackenzie Dern taking on Marina Rodriguez. So if I look at this, yep. So Mackenzie Dern is finally taking on someone who is ranked below her. Mackenzie Dern is currently ranked 5th, and Marina Rodriguez is currently ranked 6th. So it's going to be, oh wait, not first time. She's taken on people below her before. It's interesting that Dern got to this ranking without having to fight a lot of the mainstays. Like, this is one of those times where you can tell they're trying to push somebody forward, and this is why I don't like when they do this stuff. Because, like, I'm not stupid. Like, I can see that, you know, they've helped her along by letting her avoid some of, like I said, some of the mainstays of the strawweight division and allowing her to get into the rankings. Yeah, because she only has one loss to Amanda Hebos. So these are who she's... So she has fought Ashley Yoder. Is she ranked? No. Oh, wait. Yoder's had her things, her complications. She's not very good. Amanda Cooper. Where's she ranked? Oh, she's not. Amanda Hebos. She lost to. She's ranked number 11. Hannah Cyphers. Oh, wait. Let me find her on the ranking list. Oh, okay. I can't. Randa Marcos. Oh, wait. Let me find. Where is she ranked? She's ranked. Oh, she's not either. Virna Jandaroba. Oh, she's ranked 12. And then Nina Nunes. Formerly Nina Ansaroff, right? She's ranked number 7. She has 2 wins over ranked opponents. And she's currently ranked 5th. She is ranked with Yan Xiaonan, Carla Esparza, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Zhang Weili, and Rose Namajunas. She did not have to fight Claudia Gadelha. She did not have to fight Tecia Torres. She did not have to fight Michelle Waterson or Angela Hill. See, Felice Herrig being in the top 15 doesn't, like, that's weird too. But that's what I'm saying. Like, she didn't have to fight the staples of the division. She fought, like, Nina Nunes coming off of a 2-year layoff after she had a baby. You know, she's, you know, with Amanda Nunes. So, you know, and she gets a win over her. Like, Nina, like, Nina Nunes kept her ranking while she was there. Like, there's no reason why she shouldn't. That's perfectly fine. But beating her like after then, and then all of a sudden jumping into the top 5, like, that's kind of bullshit. And this is what I'm saying, is she's managed to avoid any challenge. I say probably Verna Jandaroba is probably her best win, give all things being considered. I think she's a tough fighter, a good challenge, but she's ranked number 12. And Nina Nunes doesn't count because she was coming off of that 2-year layoff. That's what I'm saying, is like, she has one good win of someone who's ranked over someone who's ranked, and she's already in the top 5. This is what we call a hype job. It's not to say that she doesn't deserve it skill-wise, right? I don't think she does. I think her striking is still rudimentary, and she's going to get cracked when she finds it. But she might get lucky and out-grapple somebody or catch somebody with a crazy shot. But do you think, like, she's in the top 5 now, so this conversation needs to be had. So you're going to tell me she can challenge Rose Namajunas or Zhang Weili or Joanna or Carla Esparza, maybe, Yan Xiaonan? You're going to tell me she's going to be competitive with any of those people? You're out of your fucking gourd. And this isn't any, like, this conversation when brought up earlier, right, when she wasn't ranked and she was just coming to the UFC, like, people are like, oh, come on, pump your brakes now, pump your brakes. She just started fighting in the UFC. She's not even ranked. Like, why should she be fighting those people? This is why, because we were told constantly by the UFC that she's the next big thing, right? They keep pushing this narrative that she's so good, but she hasn't fought. This is the same people that had a problem with Conor McGregor's rise, which, by the way, was a lot more impressive because he was calling when he was going to beat these people, regardless of whether or not he fought a wrestler, right? This guy was calling when he was doing it, and he fought people like Dustin Poirier in the process, Max Holloway in the process, right? Go back and look at his record and look at the guys he beat in the manner that he beat them in. It's utterly ridiculous. So this is that hype job where if she falls off this is like got Cody Garbrandt written all over it, where she's going to be thrown into the deep end here, and if she can't compete, she's just going to constantly be thrown to the wolves, and her career is going to suffer for it. And now, I don't see, and she's fighting Marina Rodriguez, who's ranked number 6. That's fine. It's just, I don't understand how she got to this ranking. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it. Randy Brown's taking on Jared Gooden. That's going to be exciting. Tim Elliott, still fighting the UFC, huh? Fighting Matheus Nicolau. Sabina Mazo. Phil Hawes is fighting Duran Wynn. Oh, Duran Wynn. Discount DC. It's going to be a lot of wrestling. I bet you that's going to be a boring fight. Chris Gutierrez, the rest of these fights. Charles Rosa is fighting against Damon Jackson. Peter Diaz. We'll talk about all these fights after they happen. Yep. All right, that'll be it. Cool. Thank you all for listening. I really appreciate it. As far as like this weekend goes, there were some decent fights on the card. I think it's probably one of the lesser watched cards just because of the weekend that was before. We had the big UFC, lots of title fights, lots of action, lots of names and all that stuff. And this is kind of one of those weekends where if someone is going to take a break from the UFC, this would probably be one of them. And then next week, maybe even more so. Maybe they watch this week, but then this next week, maybe they're going to skip because outside of the main event, there's not a lot of challenger names in that one. All right, if you made it this far, you are a legend. I really do appreciate you. I do. Like I said at the top, please like and subscribe. If you like what I'm doing, please tell somebody else. It means a lot to me. Like, if you like my takes, if you don't like my takes, please give me your take. What do you think about it? Tweet me at lunch_bros, Super Lunch Bros, Google, Gmail. Send me emails, whatever, if you wanted to have a discussion about MMA. It's a weird place to do it. Weird flex, but okay. But yeah, any outreach and any sort of like interaction, I really do appreciate. It means a lot to me. So that's it for this week. I'll get you guys probably back. I might do a review over the Venom movie. I might do that. I might put that out later this week. So all that being said, please have a great week. Love y'all.